In the library, could you hear other gunshots going off around the school, or was it you had absolutely no idea until they came in?
Yeah, it was just a little after 11, and we heard this loud explosion. And I remember hearing it, and I looked out the windows of the library, and I saw some smoke coming up. And the first thing that thought I thought of was a car crash, because that's kind of what it sounded like. And so I got up to look at where the smoke was coming from. I later learned it was a pipe bomb that had gone off. And as I'm looking out the window, I heard gunshots. And I had heard gunshots before, being a Boy Scout, and had shot in guns before. And and that's when it just kind of struck me like this is not normal. And I remember looking around the library at people's faces, and some people were oblivious, still laughing, not paying attention. But you could see that some people had recognized something wasn't right, and you could see that there was a lot of confusion and fear. And so we heard the gunshots outside. They moved in towards the school. We could hear them echoing through the hallways. And the library, there was one door that went to the hallway, and there was one door that went to the outside of the school. And they were both open. And because of the echo, it sounded like the gunshots were coming from all around us. So no one at that time left the library because we felt like we were surrounded. Um, but as they got closer, a teacher ran in, Patty Nielsen, and she was bleeding from her shoulder. And she said, "Everyone get down. There's kids with guns. Get under the tables. Get down." She ran over to the librarian's desk, which was pretty close to where I was at, and she called 911. And as she's telling everyone to yell, yelling to get down, we could hear the gunshots closer in the hallway. And I was standing behind a pillar, and I looked around the pillar, and one of the two murderers was standing in the doorway. He we made eye contact, and he lowered his rifle and pumped around and shot. And as he was lowering his shotgun, I started to jump. And as he fired, I was hitting the lower left side of my back. And I landed behind this Xerox machine and a desk, and I hear two more shots just go over my head. And it hit the desk in front of me, and it blew shrapnel and ricochet back into my face and my neck. And that's when they came in.
What were they saying when they were walking into the library?
Well, they did. They yelled, "Everyone get up!" They talked a lot actually in the library. They talked a lot. They laughed a lot. They mocked people. They said some very disgusting and vile things about Isaiah Shoals after they had shot him in the head.
And he
They
was he
used
was an
the
African American student, right?
yeah, yeah, he was. And they said, "Look at this inwards brains." There were people who were pleading to God, praying to God, and they mocked God. They laughed at it. They questioned people why they believed in God, if they believed in God, and at times it even their conversation went down the rabbit hole to one point. They even said that they were God. Yeah, it was bizarre because there was laughing and hooping and hollering, and then there'd be just outburst of rage. And so and in between all this, they were just walking around, shooting people at random, murdering people execution style, and that went on for around 7.5 minutes.
Was anyone trying to talk to them, or they were just totally silent, praying that they were going to not notice them or come up to them?
Um, some of that, some of this I've learned from after the fact. During the shooting, I did hear people pleading, "No, no, no." Um, people crying out for their parents. Um, and in the aftermath, I learned that there were people who just played dead, acted like they were already shot. Um, you know, Kyle Velasquez was sitting in his chair still, just frozen, when he was shot and murdered. And so, uh, yeah, I mean, it was the most horrific thing, and the whole time you're thinking, this has got to end. This is someone's got to come in and stop this. And at this time, I knew at this time that there was two of them, because I had heard their conversations and gunshots coming from different directions. But at this time, I had crawled around the librarian's desk into one of the footholes, just trying to hide, and so that they wouldn't see me. But eventually, they came around the library's desk and saw me, pulled the chair out, and one of them kneeled down and he put a gun up to my head and he said, "Why shouldn't we kill you?" And I told him, "Look, I've been good to you and everyone in the school, and you know it." And he said a few things, turned to the other one, said, "You can kill him if you want to." They kind of looked at each other for a moment, and that was a real bizarre moment for me as well, because they had just walked around murdering people, and when they asked why they shouldn't kill me, that conversation that went on, something changed in them. I saw their eyes change, their appearance changed. Something changed in their mind, and I don't know what it was. If it was, I think it was divine intervention. But I later learned that was essentially it. They didn't shoot at or kill any more students after that. What had happened at Columbine was essentially over. They walked around the school. They actually looked into classrooms, into the doors with windows, and saw students, and students saw them, and they just kept walking. They went down to the commons, our cafeteria, and they tried to blow up the propane tanks that they had brought in, and were unsuccessful. And then they went back to the library a while later and committed suicide.
When the suicide, do you think that they each shot themselves or they shot each other?
Yeah, that's something that's been debated, and I don't really remember what the actual official report was. I really don't know. I could see it going either way. I mean, I think both of them were sick mentally, morally, um, and so I could see them, one shooting the other. There's been a discussion since Columbine with if one was a leader over the other. I don't know that to be the case. They sounded pretty, I don't know, mutually uh, despicable during that day. So they may have killed one and then the other and then shot themselves. But yeah, that I don't know.
Since this was 1999, I mean, this was before everyone had a cell phone and things like that. So were kids trying, do you know, to write quick notes to their families or anything while this was going on? Did you ever hear of anything like that?
Yeah, there were people who, I don't know about the notes, but yeah, cell phones weren't as popular. A few people had cell phones, but the thing is, I had a cell phone at the time, and it was in my backpack, so I didn't have it with me. But I remember trying to use it, that day and the days after, and when I could get a call through to someone, all the lines were busy because people. I mean, that was really the only line of communication. Nowadays you can go on, 50 different social media apps or whatever, and there's an infrastructure for it. But everything essentially melted down where the cell towers were just full. So if you got through, you usually got a busy signal when you're trying to talk to someone. Texting really hadn't really caught on, and most of the time you couldn't even get a call to get a busy signal because there just wasn't any bandwidth on the cell tower. So
whoa, okay. Whoa. If you want to hear the rest of that conversation, subscribe to POPlitics on YouTube. Also, of course, you can find us and subscribe on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Just subscribe to The Spillover to hear more with me, Alex Clark. Love you, mean it. Bye.